My wife divorced me because her best friend lied. I harassed her. But when that friend's girlfriend sent me screenshots confessing it was all revenge, she lost her job, friends, and her entire reputation. I'm 35 years old. I live in Denver. And about 6 months ago, my divorce was finalized in the stupidest and most painful way you can imagine. It wasn't because of actual infidelity. It wasn't because we fought constantly. It wasn't even because we stopped loving each other. It was because my ex-wife's best friend, Rachel, decided to destroy my marriage with lies because I kicked her out of my house after she turned our lives into hell for an entire month. And the worst part of it all, the thing that still hurts when I think about it, is that Sophia, my wife, believed her instead of believing me. But anyway, I guess I should start from the beginning so you understand all this craziness. I met Sophia about 7 years ago at a work conference in Boulder. I was working in corporate finance. She was in digital marketing, and we literally bumped into each other at the hotel's coffee table. You know, that cheesy movie moment where we both laughed and started talking. She was smart, funny, beautiful, and we had this immediate connection I can't really explain. We started dating like 2 weeks after that encounter, and within a year we were already living together in an apartment in downtown Denver. Everything was going amazingly. We were that annoying couple everyone hates because they were always happy and in love. After 4 years, I proposed to her on a hike in the Rockies. She said yes, through tears, and I thought my life was complete, that I had found my person. But this is where Rachel enters the story. And from the first moment I met her, something in my gut told me that woman was trouble. Rachel was Sophia's best friend from college, like those friends who've known each other since they were 19 and have millions of photos together on Instagram with captions about being soulmates and sisters from another mother. Physically, Rachel was striking. I'm not gonna lie. Tall, blonde, always perfectly put together. But there was something about her, energy that made me uncomfortable. She was way too opinionated about everything. Always had to be the center of attention at any gathering, and had this way of making passive-aggressive comments that left you wondering if she had just insulted you or not. The first time the three of us went out to dinner, Rachel spent the entire night making jokes about how Sophia had lowered her standards by dating me, like laughing, but with that tone where you know it's not completely a joke. Sophia would just laugh and tell me afterwards that that's just how Rachel was, that it was her sense of humor, that I should get to know her better. During the first years of our relationship, Rachel was busy with her own things. She had a boyfriend named Michael who lived in Fort Collins, so we didn't see her that much. Maybe once a month for brunch or something casual. I could tolerate her in small doses. But when we started planning the wedding, Rachel became omnipresent. Suddenly, she was giving her opinion, on every detail, from the color of the flowers to the banquet menu. Sophia would always consult her before making decisions, and I felt like a third wheel at my own wedding. The most ridiculous thing was when Rachel insisted, and when I say insisted, I mean practically demanded, that she needed her own special entrance at the ceremony. Like after the bridesmaids, but before Sophia came in. She wanted her moment to walk alone down the aisle while some specific song she picked played. I told Sophia that was completely inappropriate, that the wedding wasn't Rachel's show. But Sophia begged me to give in because Rachel was her best friend, and it meant a lot to her. Anyway, I gave in, because I loved Sophia and didn't want our wedding to become a fight. Rachel got her special moment, walking down that aisle like it was her own wedding, smiling at all the guests like prom queen. We got married in June 2023. A beautiful ceremony at a vineyard outside Denver, 2-week honeymoon in Italy, and we came back ready to start our life together in the house we had bought in the Wash Park neighborhood. The first months of marriage were exactly what I expected. Happy, in love, building our home together. Rachel was still a constant presence in our lives, calling Sophia every day, showing up unannounced on weekends, but I had learned to just tolerate her existence as part of the package of being married to Sophia. Then February of this year came, and everything literally went to shit. Michael, Rachel's boyfriend, broke up with her after like 6 years together. According to Rachel, it was out of nowhere, no reason. He just decided he didn't want to be in the relationship anymore. Sophia was devastated for her friend, crying on the phone with her for hours every night, and me being the supportive husband I was, I told her that, of course, Rachel could come stay with us for a few days until she felt better. A few days. That's what we agreed on. Rachel arrived with 2 suitcases on a Friday afternoon, eyes red from crying so much, and I genuinely felt compassion for her at that moment. Nobody deserves to have their heart broken like that. But a few days turned into a week, then 2 weeks, then 3 weeks, and Rachel showed no intention of leaving. She transformed our guest room into her own space, buying decorations and hanging her stuff like it was her apartment. She started making decisions about the house without consulting us, reorganizing the kitchen because, according to her, it was more efficient that way, changing the thermostat to freezing temperatures because she slept better in the cold. The worst part was that she completely monopolized Sophia. Every time I got home from work expecting to spend time with my wife, Rachel was there, crying about Michael or complaining about her life or just taking up all the space in the living room with her dramas. Sophia and I basically stopped having time alone, stopped having intimacy, because Rachel always needed something, was always in the middle of some emotional crisis that required Sophia's immediate attention. I tried to talk to Sophia about this several times. I'd tell her, "Babe, I understand Rachel is going through a hard time, but it's been almost a month and we need our space back. We need our life back." But Sophia made me feel like the villain for even suggesting it. She'd tell me, how could I be so insensitive? That Rachel was emotionally destroyed, that she just needed a little more time. Every conversation ended with me feeling guilty and Sophia angry. So eventually I stopped mentioning it and just tried to survive the chaos. Rachel also started making increasingly open comments about our marriage. At dinner, she'd say things like, "You guys must be so boring now that you're married. You don't go out or do anything fun anymore." Or she'd tell Sophia in front of me things like, "I don't understand how you can be satisfied with such a monotonous life." And Sophia would laugh, like nervously, but she never defended us, never told Rachel to shut up or that she was out of line. I felt like I was living with 2 people, and only one of them was my wife. The moment everything exploded was a Saturday in mid-March. I got home after playing basketball with some friends, sweaty and tired, and found Rachel reorganizing our master closet. She had taken out all my clothes and was putting them in boxes, because according to her, Sophia needed more space for her clothes and I had too many things. Something in me just snapped. I told her to stop immediately, that this was my closet in my house and she had no right to touch my stuff. She turned to me, with that condescending smile she had, and told me to relax, that she was just helping. I told her we didn't need her help, that in fact we needed her to leave, that it had already been more than a month and it was time for her to find her own place. Rachel immediately ran to Sophia, who was working on her laptop in the living room, and started crying, saying I was throwing her out on the street when she most needed support, that I was cruel and had no empathy. Sophia looked at me like I had just kicked a puppy. We had a horrible fight, the worst fight of our marriage up to that point. I told her she had to choose. Either Rachel left or I left because I couldn't keep living like this. Sophia cried and told me I was being a monster, but eventually, after hours of discussion, she agreed that Rachel needed to find her own place. We gave Rachel 2 weeks to find an apartment. They were the most tense 2 weeks of my life. Rachel barely spoke to me, looked at me with pure hatred every time I passed through the room, and I could feel she was planning something but didn't know what. Sophia was caught in the middle, trying to keep the peace but clearly feeling guilty about asking her best friend to leave. Rachel finally moved to an apartment in Capitol Hill at the end of March, and I thought we could finally get back to normal. That's Sophia, and I could rebuild our connection and our marriage. But Rachel had other plans. She had to get revenge on me for kicking her out, and she decided the best way to do that was to completely destroy my marriage. 2 weeks after she moved out, like mid-April, Sophia came home from work with a face I had never seen on her. She was pale, had red eyes like she'd been crying, and her hands were trembling. I asked her what was wrong, and she just looked at me with this mixture of pain and fury and asked me, "Did you cheat on me? Have you been cheating on me?" I was completely confused. I told her, of course not. What was she talking about? I would never do something like that to her. She took out her phone and showed me a series of messages from Rachel. Rachel had written to her that afternoon saying she needed to tell her something. She'd been holding back because she didn't want to hurt her, but her conscience wouldn't let her stay quiet anymore. She said that the week before, when she went out, for coffee in Cherry Creek, She had seen me at Starbucks making out with another woman. Rachel described the woman in detail. Dark brown hair, tight jeans, red blouse, and said she saw us holding hands, laughing, and then we kissed right there in the middle of the coffee shop like we didn't care who saw us. I couldn't believe what I was reading. I told Sophia that was completely false, that it didn't happen, that Rachel was lying to get revenge because I made her move out. I reminded her that I was in my office all day that day. Rachel mentioned that I had meetings all day that I could verify, that I hadn't even gone to Cherry Creek that week. But Sophia wasn't listening to me. She was yelling at me. Why would Rachel lie about something like this? What does she gain from making this up? I tried to explain to her that Rachel was angry at me, that this was her way of payback, but Sophia was convinced that her best friend wouldn't lie to her about something so serious. I begged her to, believe me. I showed her my work calendar, my location history on my phone that showed I was at my office all that day, but she said that didn't prove anything, that I could have deleted things, that I could have turned off my location. The conversation became circular, me insisting on my innocence and her insisting that Rachel had no reason to lie. By the end of the night, Sophia packed a suitcase and left to stay with Rachel. Yes, with Rachel, the person who had just destroyed our marriage with her lies. The following days were a nightmare. Sophia wouldn't answer my calls, would only send me text messages saying she needed space to think. I tried everything. I wrote her long messages explaining that Rachel was manipulating her. I talked to her mom, trying to get her to make her see reason. But nothing worked. 2 weeks after that initial confrontation, Sophia sent me a text message, saying she wanted a divorce. She didn't even have the courage to tell me in person or by phone call. Just a cold message saying she had talked to a lawyer and they would send me the papers. I was devastated. I wasn't sleeping, barely eating, called in sick to work for days because I couldn't function. The woman I loved, with whom I had planned to spend my life, was leaving me based on the lies of a toxic person who had always hated me, and the worst part was that nobody believed me. Rachel had shared her version of the story with our entire social circle, painting me as the unfaithful husband and her as the loyal friend who had the courage to expose my betrayal. Friends I'd had relationships with for years stopped responding to my messages. At social gatherings, people looked at me with disgust or just avoided me. I became the villain of this story without having done absolutely anything wrong. About 2 months went by like this. The divorce papers arrived. I signed them because, what else could I do? Sophia had clearly made her decision, and there was nothing I could say or do to change her mind. I was starting to accept that my marriage was over, that I would have to rebuild my life from scratch. When I got a Facebook message from someone I didn't know well, a girl named Elena who was Rachel's friend. Elena wrote to me saying she needed to talk to me urgently about Rachel and Sophia. At first, I thought it was another person ready to tell me how terrible I was. But something in her tone seemed different. We agreed to meet at a neutral cafe, one of those small coffee shops in the 5 Points neighborhood, and when I arrived, Elena was there with her laptop and a very serious expression on her face. What Elena showed me changed everything. Turns out, Elena and Rachel had had a recent fight about something unrelated, and Rachel, in her usual dramatic style, had blocked Elena from everything. But before she blocked her, Elena had seen something that seemed strange to her. She opened her laptop and showed me screenshots of a WhatsApp group chat between Rachel and 2 other friends of hers that I didn't know. In those messages, which dated from late March, right after Rachel moved out of our house, Rachel literally admitted she was going to make up that she saw me cheating on Sophia. I read those messages and my hands started shaking. Rachel wrote things like, "That asshole kicked me out of the house after Sophie begged me to stay. I'm going to make him pay. Or I'm going to tell Sophie I saw him with another woman. She'll believe me because she knows I would never lie to her." Rachel's friends in the chat encouraged her, telling her things like, "Yeah, do it, he deserves it." Or Sophie deserves to know what kind of man he really is. It was all there, in black and white, complete proof that Rachel had fabricated the entire infidelity story. Elena explained that she had saved those screenshots because something seemed wrong to her at the time, but she didn't know if she should get involved. When she saw that Sophia and I were getting divorced and started hearing the story Rachel was telling everyone, she knew she had to tell me the truth. I thanked her, like literally with tears in my eyes, and asked her if she'd be willing to show this proof to Sophia. Elena said yes, that in fact she wanted to, because what Rachel had done was horrible. I wrote to Sophia that same day. I told her I had proof that Rachel had lied about everything, that she needed to see me and see this proof before moving forward with the divorce. Sophia at first refused, saying that nothing I said would change what happened, but I insisted. I told her that if after seeing the proof she still wanted to divorce, I would accept it without fighting, but that she owed me at least to see it. She finally agreed to meet me at a Panera Bread, neutral territory. The next day, I arrived with Elena, who brought her laptop with all the screenshots. Sophia was confused to see Elena there, but she sat down and Elena started showing her the messages. I could see Sophia's face changing as she read, from confusion to shock to pure horror. She read each message 2, 3 times, like she couldn't believe what she was seeing. She asked if the screenshots were edited, if they were real, and Elena opened WhatsApp web on her laptop and showed her the conversation directly from her account to prove it wasn't fabricated. Sophia started crying, like loud sobs that made people in the cafe look at us. She kept saying, I can't believe it. How could she do this to me? How could I be so stupid? I was sitting there, not knowing what to do or say. Part of me wanted to comfort her, but another bigger part was furious, because this woman had chosen to believe Rachel instead of me, her husband, and now our marriage was destroyed because of it. Sophia tried to apologize, saying she was so sorry, that she had made the worst mistake of her life, that Rachel was her best friend, and she never thought she would lie to her about something like this. She asked me if we could fix this, if we could cancel the divorce and try again. And I, after everything that had happened, all the pain and humiliation and loneliness of the last 2 months, told her no. I told her she had had the chance to trust me, to believe in our relationship and our marriage vows, and she chose to believe a person who had always tried to get between us. I told her I couldn't be with someone who so easily discarded our relationship based on third-party gossip without even giving me the benefit of the doubt. Sophia was devastated, begging me to reconsider, but I had already made my decision. The divorce went ahead and was finalized in August. We divided everything amicably in the end. She kept some things, I kept others, we sold the house and split the profits. But what I did do, and I don't regret it one bit, was share those screenshots with every person in our social circle who had turned their back on me. The reaction was exactly what I expected. Friends who had blocked me wrote to me apologizing profusely. People who had shared Rachel's story on social media deleted it and posted clarifications. Rachel became persona non grata in our entire social circle. People confronted her, accused her of being a manipulative liar, and she tried to defend herself with dramatic posts on social media about how she was the real victim, about how everyone had betrayed her. But nobody believed her this time. Jessica, a mutual friend, kept me updated on what happened afterwards with Rachel. Because, I'm not gonna lie, I wanted to know she was suffering consequences. Turns out Rachel's lies didn't just ruin her social life, but also her professional life. She worked in human resources at a medium-sized company in Denver, and when her bosses found out, through social connections, about the drama she had caused and her reputation as a liar, they started questioning her work. Apparently there had been previous complaints about Rachel being dramatic at the office and creating conflicts among colleagues. In September, they fired her under the excuse of restructuring, but we all knew the real truth. Sophia tried to reconcile with Rachel initially, like calling her to ask why she had done that, but Rachel attacked her, saying she was a traitor for believing me over her, that after so many years of friendship, Sophia should have been on her side no matter what. Sophia eventually cut off contact completely with Rachel, which she should have done years ago in my opinion. According to Jessica, Sophia's mom was furious with her for destroying her marriage for such stupid reasons and had told her she needed to grow up and learn to have her own judgment. Sophia had to move back in with her parents after the divorce because she couldn't afford an apartment alone in Denver with current prices. She wrote to me several more times in the following months, trying to convince me to give her another chance, telling me she had gone to therapy and was working on her codependency, issues with friendships, but I never responded. I eventually blocked her number because I needed to move on. As for me, the truth is I'm still processing everything. I bought a smaller condo in the Lodo area, focused on my work and rebuilding my friendships. I started going to the gym regularly, something I had stopped during all the marriage chaos. I've gone on a few dates, but nothing serious yet. It's not that I don't want a relationship, but I think I need time to trust people again, especially after the person I loved most in the world chose to believe someone else over me so easily. Last week, I ran into Rachel at the King Soopers supermarket, near my new place. She saw me first and immediately ran off in the opposite direction, like I was a ghost. I didn't chase her or anything, like she's not even worth my energy at this point. But I'm not gonna lie. Feeling like she's afraid of me after everything she did to me gave me a certain satisfaction. I look back at all this and I have a hard time believing that one person, one single toxic and manipulative person, could destroy a marriage I thought was solid. But I also learned that a marriage is only as strong as the trust that exists in it. And Sophia showed that her trust in me was fragile compared to her loyalty to a toxic friendship. Maybe it was better to discover that now than 30 years in the future when we had kids and a mortgage and completely intertwined lives. I guess in the end, I got what I wanted from the beginning. A life without Rachel in it. I just had to lose my marriage to achieve it. But honestly, after everything that happened, I think I came out better off than Sophia, who lost both her marriage and her best friend, and definitely better than Rachel, who lost basically everything. Her social circle, her job, her reputation. There's a certain poetic justice in that, don't you think?